I think at some point we all had that family member, whether it's your favorite auntie or your uncle, who is always trying to keep a moral standing over what everybody else is doing. And that family member at some point asked you, don't you have principles? What are your morals? In fact, you do have principles, right? You were born somewhere, so you have a beginning. So beginning is the synonym of a principle. So guess what? Thoughts also have principles. They have an original idea. It's a thought. And over time, they evolve into whatever you know now. And that's the point of today's conversation. The point is to understand, how do you find that original thought? Or how do you identify the principles that over time get lost? It doesn't matter whether your favorite aunt or your drunkard uncle is always questioning your morals and your principles. We all lose them over time, because the original idea over time gains and picks up the breeze, just like a snowball going down the hill, right? It grows, and it changes. It's no longer the original idea. So that's what the principle of a thought is. Could be moral values. What was the original thought that gave birth to this morality that we understand now? Hopefully, some people still have some moral code. So the point is, how do you identify that original thought? You identify those by doing philosophy. So how do you do philosophy? It is very easy for you to hit the computer, type it at your favorite AI search box, the definition of philosophy, and it will give you a definition. It will give you a general definition. But how do you actually do in your everyday life? This is how you do it. You go beyond what is obvious. And okay, how do you do that? Well, let's start. The purpose of philosophizing is to identify the first thought, the original simple thought that was objective, hopefully was objective. And then it picked up momentum. And many thoughts are so attached to reality, and they hit the right time at the right place, and they are like fertile land where you plant the seed, grows strong. Over time, all thoughts change again, and they mature. They do what they were supposed to do. They serve the need that they were supposed to serve, and they are no longer the same as the original thought. That's why your uncle asked you about your principles. So for doing philosophy about your knowledge, we need to understand that knowledge comes in pockets. What do you mean by pockets? Well, it's like layers. Let's say it's like a cabbage, like a big ball head of cabbage, or a cabbage head. You start removing layer after layer after layer, and each layer is not the cabbage, right? All the layers together are the cabbage. But you continue removing the layers until you hit the core of the cabbage. That is no longer the cabbage. The cabbage is gone. Just like I am proposing that you start looking for the fundamental core of your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs. And you will end up with something completely different. But that's how you do philosophy. And for everyday life, one example of, and by the way, all these layers, like the cabbage, each knowledge is a concept, right? Knowledge comes packet, again, like packets, is like a packet of concepts. A concept is a packet. And this concept is made up of other concepts. And these concepts are made up of other concepts. And for the purpose of being able to understand those concepts, like to teach those concepts, you are told in school of what something is not. For example, if you're learning how to play basketball, your coach may teach you what a 3-point throw is. And your coach will say a 3-point throw is not a 1-point throw. It's not a 2-point throw. And then they show you the different markings on the basketball court to show what a 3-point throw is. So in order for you to understand what the 3-point throw is, you have to understand what is not. And that's how the dynamic exercising that needs to happen in your brain for understanding knowledge. Knowledge is, again, a bunch of concepts, and it's not a bunch of other concepts. Another way of putting it is, when you were like maybe in 5th grade, they taught you what an atom is. Let's say the hydrogen atom, that is only one nucleus, one proton in the nucleus and one electron going around and around and around. How do you understand the concept of an atom if you have never seen one? And chances are you will never see one in your lifetime. But they compare that with the solar system in some places. In some other places they just draw the picture, but still to conceptualize, for that to make sense in your brain, for knowledge to be transferred from a notebook to the environment in your brain, which is biological, it takes comparing and contrasting with what you already know. And the case of the atom is compared with the solar system. So, in other words, knowledge, big chunk of knowledge, is fiction. Because in order for you to conceptualize it, in other words, for you to wrap your brain around an idea, the first time you are presented with that idea, you have to learn what is not. The solar system is not an atom, and yet for you to understand the concept of an atom, you have to be presented with the solar system. And that's how you transfer knowledge. Remove layer after layer after layer, which means concept after concept after concept. Go to the core concept and work from there. This is how you do philosophy. And that includes scientific knowledge, religious beliefs, political beliefs, education, which is full of concepts, but very little philosophy in the teaching process. That's how you do philosophy every day when you go to work. Is work meaningful to you? No? Why not? What is it? Hopefully it is. Thank you. Happy philosophizing.